If you are choosing a career right now, the wrong question is, which job will AI never replace? No honest person can promise that. A better question is, which jobs contain tasks that are difficult, expensive, risky, or socially unacceptable to hand over completely to a machine? That question reveals 5 useful patterns: human trust, physical work in unpredictable places, judgment with real accountability, messy context that does not fit neatly into a prompt, and decisions built on relationships. We are going to look at 5 jobs that combine several of those patterns. More importantly, I will show you how to recognize the same protection in other careers, including the one you may already have. First, we need to clear up a common misunderstanding. AI usually does not arrive and erase an entire job title overnight. It takes over selected tasks: drafting an email, summarizing a document, producing a first version of a report, scheduling appointments, searching a database. The International Labor Organization describes job transformation as more likely than full automation in many AI-exposed occupations. The World Economic Forum's 2025 report also projects both major job creation and displacement through 2030, with growth expected in areas including care and construction. So a job can grow while some of its tasks disappear. It can also shrink for reasons that have little to do with AI. Funding changes, demographics, interest rates, regulation, and consumer demand all affect employment. With that distinction in place, the first job is electrician. An AI system can explain how a circuit should work. It can review a diagram, help estimate materials, draft an invoice, and suggest possible causes of a fault. But the electrician still has to enter the building, inspect the actual wiring, notice that a previous repair does not match the plan, work safely in a cramped location, and decide what to do when the expected problem is not the real problem. That is physical world uncertainty. Buildings are not standardized digital files. They contain old materials, undocumented modifications, access problems, weather damage, and human mistakes. The cost of being wrong can also be serious. That creates demand for licensed people who can inspect the situation, follow safety requirements, perform the work, and accept responsibility for the result. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics projects electrician employment to grow 9% from 2024 to 2034. That forecast does not prove electricians are protected from every form of automation. It does show that current projections still expect demand for the occupation. The protected skill is not simply knowing facts about electricity. It is diagnosis plus safe action in an unpredictable physical environment. Job number 2 is nurse practitioner. Healthcare will use more AI, not less. AI can help organize patient information, draft notes, identify patterns, and support clinical decisions. The vulnerable assumption is that better software automatically removes the healthcare professional. A real patient may arrive with several conditions: incomplete information, unusual symptoms, financial limits, family pressure, and fear. Someone must ask follow-up questions, examine the patient, evaluate competing risks, explain the options, obtain informed agreement, and remain accountable for the care decision. Trust matters because patients do not always describe their problems clearly. They may minimize a symptom, misunderstand instructions, or avoid mentioning something embarrassing. The professional has to notice what is missing, not just process what was entered. Nurse practitioners also work within licensing rules and clinical standards. AI can support their judgment, but support is different from taking legal and professional responsibility for a patient. BLS currently projects nurse practitioner employment to grow 40% from 2024 to 2034. Again, growth is not the same as immunity from change. Documentation and administrative tasks may become heavily automated, even while demand for direct patient care rises. If you appreciate career explanations that separate useful evidence from dramatic headlines, subscribe. That is what we do here. And now let's move to the role where the relationship itself is part of the work. Job number 3 is mental health counselor. An AI system can provide general information, suggest questions, summarize notes, or guide someone through a structured exercise. Those uses may be valuable. They are not the full job of counseling. A counselor has to build enough trust for a person to share incomplete, painful, or contradictory information. The counselor watches how the person responds, adjusts the pace, identifies risk, challenges harmful thinking without destroying the relationship, and chooses when to involve other services. The correct response often depends on a long history that is difficult to compress into a clean input. 2 clients can use the same words while needing very different responses because their circumstances, support systems, risks, and readiness are different. There is also a major accountability question. If a client may be in danger, someone has to evaluate the situation, follow professional rules, document the decision, and act appropriately. BLS projects employment for substance abuse, behavioral disorder, and mental health counselors to grow 17% between 2024 and 2034. Licensing and education requirements vary by role and location, so this is not a quick career switch everywhere. It is an example of work where trust, context, and responsibility are tightly connected. Job number 4 is construction manager. At first, management may sound like desk work that software can absorb. Some of it can. AI can summarize progress reports, compare estimates, update schedules, organize documents, and flag potential delays. But a construction project exists in the physical world. A delivery arrives late. An inspection uncovers a problem. Weather changes the schedule. A subcontractor interprets a requirement differently. The client requests a modification that affects cost, timing, and safety. The construction manager has to combine technical information with negotiation and real-time coordination. The best answer is not always sitting in the project plan. It may require walking the site, speaking with several specialists, understanding which compromise is acceptable, documenting the decision, and explaining the consequences to the client. This is messy context combined with accountability. Several answers may be technically possible, but someone must choose one and own the result. BLS projects construction manager employment to grow about 9% from 2024 to 2034. The role will almost certainly gain more automation tools, but those tools may increase the amount one manager can oversee, rather than eliminate the need for responsible on-site coordination. That last point is a reasonable possibility, not a guaranteed outcome. Job number 5 is lawyer, especially work involving negotiation, client advice, complex disputes, and courtroom strategy. This example needs an important warning. Legal work is not automatically protected. AI can already assist with research, document review, summaries, and first drafts. Routine legal support tasks may face more pressure. The World Economic Forum specifically lists legal secretaries among roles expected to decline, illustrating how AI can affect one part of a profession before replacing the profession itself. The harder part to automate is accountable judgment under uncertainty. A client rarely arrives with a perfectly organized legal question. The lawyer has to uncover the relevant facts, identify what can be proven, evaluate the other side's incentives, explain risk in understandable language, and recommend a course of action. Negotiation is also relationship-heavy. A proposal may succeed or fail because of timing, credibility, reputation, emotion, or information that was never written in the case file. AI may generate possible arguments. A human lawyer still has to decide which argument is appropriate, whether the evidence supports it, what ethical duties apply, and whether the client understands the consequences. The lesson is not that every lawyer is safe. A role dominated by standardized drafting may be more exposed than one involving live negotiation, complex clients, and responsibility for high-stakes decisions. BLS projects legal occupations overall to grow about as fast as the average from 2024 to 2034. So this is an argument about task resistance, not explosive job growth. Now step back from the job titles. Electricians, nurse practitioners, counselors, construction managers, and lawyers look very different. Their shared advantage is that the valuable part of the work happens after the easy information has already been produced. AI can suggest, the worker verifies. AI can draft. The worker decides what is appropriate. AI can detect a pattern. The worker investigates whether it applies to this person, building, project, or dispute. That distinction should change how you present yourself in a job search. A weak resume bullet might say, responsible for coordinating projects and communicating with stakeholders. That sounds generic because it does not reveal what required human judgment. A stronger version would be, resolved schedule conflicts across contractors, inspectors, and suppliers, documented trade-offs, and kept work moving when site conditions changed. Here is another weak version. Provided excellent service and built strong relationships. A stronger version is identified concerns clients were not raising directly, adapted recommendations to their constraints, and coordinated follow-up with the appropriate specialists. Do not simply claim that you have empathy, communication skills, or good judgment. Show a moment when information was incomplete. Several people wanted different outcomes, and you made a responsible decision. You can audit any career using 5 questions. Does the work require people to trust the person delivering it? Does it require physical action in changing environments? Is a licensed or accountable human expected to approve the final decision? Does success depend on information that is incomplete, emotional, or difficult to standardize? And do relationships influence the outcome? The more often you answer yes, the harder the entire job may be to automate. But individual tasks inside it can still change. That is the real pattern. Do not search for a magical AI-proof title. Build toward work where your value comes from verification, judgment, trust, coordination, and responsible action. Then learn to use AI for the repeatable parts without allowing those parts to become your entire professional identity. Which job should we analyze next? Or which part of your current role are you worried AI could change? Leave it in the comments.